Issue 8. Jobs. Most people in modern society spend more than 8 hours a day working. For many, smartphones and other devices, instead of making their tasks easier, has served to blur the distinction between at home and on the job. An interesting fact is that bosses often envy the employees, and vice versa, since people tend to exaggerate the benefits they don't have and underestimate those that are exclusively theirs. Executives seem to have greater job satisfaction than ordinary workers. After all, they have the power to decide things by themselves, and this can be a very intoxicating situation. That's why ordinary workers are envious of them. But businessmen must take responsibility for their decisions, and if something goes wrong, they may face serious consequences. Employees, on the other hand, have clearly defined, fairly routine tasks to perform, but if they do what is expected, they are usually exempt from any bad consequences. So they have stable positions. A competent worker may enjoy many promotions and raises, but still not have much input into decision-making. Who is happier is not the question. The important thing is that people must evaluate themselves honestly and decide which category they should belong in, employer or employee. Comprehension. 1. What advantage does a business person have? 2. What advantage do workers have? 3. Which is better for you, being an employer or employee? Express yourself. 1. Do you think everybody needs a job? Why or why not? 2. Do you like your current job? Why or why not? 3. Would you want your children to do your job? 4. What are your priorities for a suitable job? 5. Would you take a night shift job if it paid better? 6. Do you have any plans to start your own business? 7. What are some obstacles to starting one's own business? 8. Do you think one's college major determines what one's job will be? 9. Is the relationship between you and your boss good? Why or why not? 10. What does job mean to you? Is it only a means of making money? 11. What determines a good or a bad job? 12. What are the best and worst aspects of your job? 13. Do you ever feel like changing jobs? What are the factors you should consider? 14. Our society doesn't seem to be capable enough of accommodating all new college graduates with jobs. What are some useful majors for finding jobs? What are the least useful majors for finding a job? 15. What do you think are the most ideal jobs? What are the worst ones? 16. If you were rich enough to support yourself for the rest of your life, would you choose not to have a job? Or would you search for a job in spite of your wealth? 17. List some jobs that are destined to disappear in a generation. Then list some jobs that are likely to be created in the near future. More talking points. Talk about the good and bad aspects about the following jobs. A. Physician. B. Teacher. C. Politician. D. Head of state. E. Farmer. F. Pro athlete. G. Soldier. H. Movie star. I. Comedian. J. Housewife. K. House husband. L. Artist. M. Cab driver. N. Miner. O. Consultant. P. Salesperson. Q. Priest or nun. R. Lawyer. S. Panhandler. Opinion samples. 1. One of the great myths is that everyone needs a job. Some people are wealthy enough that they don't need to work and can live very well indeed on investment income. Not only the wealthy fit into that category, however, even people of modest means can be very comfortable without a job if they abandon many of their materialistic desires. Some people genuinely are too physically or emotionally handicapped to be able to work. Some folks have the ability to gain financial support from others without ever having a job. However, even beyond the matter of financial necessity, most people are defined by their occupations, and they find it difficult to fit into society unless they have some sort of job. 2. The two basic requirements for a good job are that it provides a suitable income and reasonable satisfaction in its performance. An old friend of mine was a successful dentist, but he did not have a very high opinion of the profession. He regarded himself as being akin to an oral mechanic. He much preferred being an English teacher because he enjoyed the interaction with his students and the idea that he was enabling others to improve themselves. But the income disparity was too great, and he went back to dentistry. However, he was never happy with that decision, and eventually just decided to stop eating and drank himself to death. Dialogue. Work marriage.
Are you going to be home tonight?
It doesn't look like it. I think Harriet and I are going to have to stay in the office late working on a project together.
Working on a project together? You're sure this is going to be in the office?
Of course, mostly. We'll go someplace to get something to eat. But otherwise, we'll be in the office until pretty late. I'll call you when I have a better grasp of the situation.
Why can't you come home and eat? Or we could meet someplace.
We could meet, but right now I don't know precisely what time that would be feasible. I won't know until I actually get into the project itself. It probably won't work out where we could actually get together. But who knows? Maybe I'll even be able to come home early after all.
Not likely, though, is it?
No, not likely.
You're never home.
Not as much as I'd like to be, but it isn't fair to say I'm never home.
I can't count on you to be here even on weekends.
I'm here most weekends.
When you're not on a business trip with Harriet.
I can't help it that my job requires a lot of travel and late nights. Would you prefer that I be a house husband instead? Then I'd be home all the time, and we'd be broke.
I'm not complaining about your job. I'm complaining about your relationship with that woman.
It's purely business. But I'm fortunate that I spend so much time with someone like her instead of someone I can't get along well with.
Like me, you mean?
Of course not. I love you.
You have a funny way of showing it.
I can't help it. But there's nothing going on between Harriet and me. We work together. We're close friends. That's all.
I used to believe that, but for years you've spent a lot more time with her than you have with me. Gone out of town with her a lot more often than with me.
I'm sorry. I'll try to do better.
Why don't you just marry her instead? And then you could work on your projects together at home or anywhere you want.
That's not fair. You know Harriet is married.
Marriage is so inconvenient for you both, isn't it?
Questions. 1. What do you think Beulah means by working on a project together? 2. In terms of the dialogue, do you have any advice to Eugene or Beulah about their responses? 3. What do you think about the phenomenon called work marriage? Read and discuss. Does a glass ceiling exist for women in our society? Way back in 1984, Gay Bryant coined the term glass ceiling. Women have reached a certain point, she claimed. They're in the top of middle management, and they're stopping and getting stuck. They were within reach of higher management positions, but some invisible barrier seemed to block any further progress. Clearly, matters have changed over the last decades. Or have they? While we live in a world that is full of women occupying the very highest corporate and political positions, they are still the exception rather than the rule. Most women still complain that, regardless of their ability and dedication, they will never be able to advance beyond a certain invisible, undefined point. And meanwhile, they will continue to get paid less than their male colleagues who have the same jobs. Questions. 1. Does the glass ceiling concept only refer to gender discrimination? Can there be a glass ceiling for people based on where they were born, or what school they attended, or some other arbitrary status? 2. Is it possible that the glass ceiling is not a genuine phenomenon, but merely an excuse people make to rationalize their own failure to advance? Discuss this notion. 3. What steps should be taken to remove any glass ceiling that may exist? Let's talk funny. Consumers not spending like drunken sailors. Superstore is handing out beer to customers at the front door, hoping they spend more money. And Good, Better, Best has free whiskey parties for its customers. So what can online stores do to compete?
They are already aware of the problem. eBay just announced an additional 20% off to any shoppers who can prove they are shopaholics. Questions. 1. What is the sales strategy pursued by Superstore and Good, Better, Best? 2. What is the alternative sales strategy of eBay? 3. Which strategy do you think is likely to be more successful?
Points to ponder. The following sentences are all related thematically. They express a wide difference of opinions and attitudes. You may agree with some of them and disagree with others. Please discuss what you think the sentences mean and what you think about them. 1. If you think your boss is stupid, remember, you wouldn't have a job if he were any smarter. 2. You can tell a man's character by whether he turns up his nose or his sleeves when offered a job. 3. Going to college won't guarantee you a job, but it will give you 4 extra years to worry about getting one. 4. If you think it's expensive to hire a professional to do the job, wait until you hire an amateur. 5. There may be luck in getting a job, but there's none whatsoever involved in keeping it. 6. According to the latest statistics, 5 million people in our country aren't working. And there are even more if one counts people with desk jobs. 7. I never dreamed about success. I worked for it. 8. Your dream job does not exist. You must create it.